Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning into our very first episode of Talking Transition. So today we are talking with Nzinga Barbaroos. Did I say that correctly?
You did, yeah, you got it.
Okay, awesome. So our goal here with these transition conversations is just to really get those firsthand experiences of someone who has been diagnosed with autism. And so we just want to really know how it has, being someone on the spectrum, how it has framed your life, and then much of what you've done in your career. So, welcome, Nzinga, to Talking Transitions. So, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you, and thank you for coming on to share your story with us. So, and could I ask your age? How old are you?
27.
27. So, you have gone through what you probably have heard of as called being, transitioning from, high school into adulthood, and then I don't know if you know or if you've experienced this, but a lot of individuals with autism, they sort of get in this phase and they have trouble. So, how was your experience? Do you have an experience? I'm sorry, any connection with your local autism community?
So I don't know if I would say like, oh, a local autism community. I do know that I have some like online friends. I do have some friends that I just happen to have known my whole life that are also diagnosed. But like when it comes to just Chicago as a whole, I don't think that I know of any groups in my age range that are going on.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, at what age were you diagnosed with autism?
So I was diagnosed as a child, but I was homeschooled my entire life, and my mom did not tell me until I was 20 something. So,
Really?
mhm.
Wow. So my kids are homeschooled. I have a son, he is 12. He's on the spectrum. And so homeschooling him, I would say, has changed his life. So by not knowing, do you think that was a good thing for you? Or did you have any challenges along the way that knowing could have made a difference for you?
I think that it was great growing up, and that the challenges came once I moved out of the house. So I was homeschooled my entire life, and like all the adults and maybe some of the older children knew, but I did not. And it became an issue when I went to college, and then when it felt like my outside world was not, I don't want to say like catering to me, but like more understanding. And so I was trying to do things that like everyone else was doing, and then I was
Yeah.
struggling. So that's when it became an issue.
Yeah. Where did you go to college?
I went to UIC.
Okay, what's UIC? I'm from the South.
Oh, sorry, it's University of Illinois at Chicago.
Okay, okay. So you're from the Chicago area. So
Mhm.
so what did you major in?
Neuroscience.
Now that's interesting because you did not know
No.
when you went to college.
Mm-mm.
And what made you choose neuroscience as a, a, a field of study?
My dad is a doctor, and as a kid, oh, and I was homeschooled, right? So one day, my sister was teasing me, saying that she's like, you're schizophrenic because you talk to yourself while you're doing your chores. And of course, my mom turned that into a learning opportunity when I came to her and said, is this true? So she made me write a paper, and I thought it was really interesting. And that's when I said, oh, I want to be a neurosurgeon. And then sometime in high school, my dad showed me a video of neurosurgery, and I said, that's absolutely not for me. And so I decided that I was just going to be a neuroscientist, and that's how I ended up in the major.
That's awesome. So what type of is your dad a medical doctor?
Yeah, he's an OB-GYN.
Okay, awesome. So what type of activities did you participate in college?
In college, I did not participate in any activities. I kind of just did my classes and then left. I didn't stay on campus either.
Mhm.
Um, hmm, yeah,
Your,
no, I didn't
your
do any.
experience sounds a lot like mine in the beginning. It was just like I just need to sort of get these classes in.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah. So did you work while you were in college?
I did. I taught piano. I started teaching piano maybe sophomore year.
So you forgot that part. You forgot to tell me that you play the piano.
I do. Yes, I started piano at around, I started violin at 3 and switched to piano at 7, and I've played ever since.
Oh wow. Do you still play? So you no more violin.
No, I cannot play the violin. Um,
Oh,
I don't perform, but I do still have students, so I do still teach piano.
oh. So what's your favorite piece that you've learned?
Hmm.
And why is it your favorite?
I think that I really love Chopin and Debussy, and I would say maybe, and it's in, let's see if I can say it. No, it is The Girl with the Flaxen Hair, and I can't remember how to say it in French right now, but it's just a very dreamy song. And I think that that was one of the first songs I learned as like an advanced pianist when I was younger, and I just felt super accomplished by having it because it was so hard to sight read. Yeah.
So who taught you how to play piano? Were you self-taught? Did you take lessons, or does your mom or dad play?
Um, I took lessons. I grew up in the Hyde Park Suzuki Institute. It's one of the only Black-owned music schools on the south side of Chicago. And it also had a really big homeschooling community. The director homeschooled her children, and a lot of the south side homeschoolers went there.
Oh, that's awesome. So you still, even though you were homeschooled, because people always say homeschool kids are so sheltered, but it seems like you still had your own um little community. So plus one for the autism community. So I love that. And I love when they have different, because I know I've heard in different places where you have this huge community where they go on field trips together and other stuff like that. It doesn't happen in my area, but I know it does happen. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely like I recommend homeschooling to anyone where it's like a possibility for them to do.
Hmm.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Do you feel like being homeschooled shaped you academically? Because neuroscience, that's a heavy um degree field.
I do. I think it's different for every family because of the way that they decide to homeschool is different. But
Mhm.
the way that I did a lot of my classes is by the time that I was 12, I was very like self-motivated and self-directed in choosing my classes and like actually doing the work and studying for it. And that was really helpful for college because it's all up to you to get your work done and go to class and everything.
That is true. So do you think you're very schedule oriented? Like you have to do everything on a schedule, and has that helped you succeed in your day to day?
I do better if I have a schedule planned out. I have 4 siblings, so I learned to be flexible. Um,
Yeah.
but if I can have things my way, I do tend to have like a schedule on my to-dos and like how I want the day to look. So yeah.
Mhm. So if the day does not go as planned,
Mhm.
does Nzinga turn into, is there a scary version of you? Or
I
what
can
happens?
get cranky.
Do you get
I can
angry?
get cranky, but I keep it to myself as much as I can because
Yeah.
I do recognize, like, even this past weekend, I had a schedule and I veered off of the schedule because I went to get my nails done, but then they just like left for 45 minutes and I was
Yeah.
freaking out because I was like, "Oh my God, we're supposed to be back at this time. We have to get to the party at this time and we're supposed to pick up this food." And yeah, and I was just like, I called my boyfriend. He was like, "If we're late, we're late. It's fine." I was like, "Oh, okay. If we're late, we're late. It's fine. Cool."
I'll come back to that boyfriend
Okay.
part that you just snuck in there for. So when did you have your first job, and what job was it? Well, I'm sorry, you said piano. You were teaching in
Yes.
college. And
So that
so
was my
after that.
first hired. No, that's not true. I had my first job when I was 15. I worked for a bow maker, like a violin cello bow maker.
Hmm.
Um, Mm, what was I was just doing like administrative work, a few hours a week.
Did you like that type of work?
I did. I really liked it. It was downtown. And then because I was out of the house already, I just tell my mom, "Oh, I'm working a little late today," and then I would hang out with my friends. So,
Yeah. So what do you do now in your
mm.
career?
Now I am a community project manager at the University of Chicago. So I work for a research initiative. It's called the Internet Equity Initiative, and it's just focused on like internet performance measurements and digital equity in general.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
awesome. So after college,
Mhm.
what what did you do? Did you just get your bachelor's or did you move on? Are you still studying something else? Or do you plan to go back to school or
When I left school, I taught piano and I was teaching it like full time, as in it paid for my life, but it was maybe like 10, max 12 hours a week. And then I decided that I did want to go back to school. So I went back for clinical psychology and I graduated with my master's last May. And I
oh
was a therapist for a
awesome.
period of time. Um, and yeah, I just started this project management job in pretty much December of 2022.
Okay, well, congratulations on getting your master's. So, neuroscience, clinical psychology, and the
Mhm.
practice. So what was that like, practicing? And what can, and I don't know how much I can ask, but what type of support did you provide your clients?
It was a great experience. There were a lot of parts that was really hard. Once I started doing the practicum, and then I had the job, like just the official job as well. The support that I gave my clients tend I would say that it was, I mean, as a therapist, of course, it's a lot of listening, but there's they call it like this special relationship that you have like therapist and client, because not for everyone, but for a lot of people, you're not listened to and like felt like you're understood in the way that you would be in therapy. And so I
Mhm.
think just like being supportive and like actively listening, really like just trying to empathize and understand with them. So even because therapists don't give solutions, like we don't fix problems.
Yeah.
Everything comes from the person themselves. But yeah, I would say that was the biggest support.
Wow. So, what made you move from therapy into project management?
Um, I had an interest in project management. It seemed like something that I would be interested in anyway, because when I was teaching as a piano teacher, I was running the music school for a little bit. It was my godmother's music school. The director moved away for a couple years, but she didn't want to stop the
Yeah.
school. So me and my older sister took over for a while. And then, so that's when I got interested. But then what happened is I had my first job as a therapist, and then I found out that there was just not okay discrimination going on with pay there, like a really, really big gap.
Mm,
Um, and that just made me so upset naturally. And I
yeah.
started just kind of rage applying to jobs, and all of them were project management jobs because I was like, okay, I'm interested in this. It's hard to get a job as a therapist when you're pre-licensed, and I was still waiting for my license to come in the mail.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I just heard back from the university one day and I forgot that I had even applied, but I was just like, yes, I want the job and I love it. It's been really great.
That's awesome. So I love that you were able to sort of navigate that career shift and change. So what were some of the things that I guess that made you successful or have that successful transition from one career to the other one? So what does your support system look like? I know you mentioned your mom, your dad, your sister.
Yes.
Do you have any brothers?
I do. I have two brothers, two sisters.
Brothers, two sisters. Are you oldest or youngest?
Second oldest.
Second oldest. Wow. So you've always been in leadership, I would say. I think sometimes being an oldest sibling kind of puts you in a
Mhm.
sort of leadership position. But how much does your family support you
My
in your
family is super supportive. We're all very close. Let's see, when I was switching jobs, I don't know, I feel like anything that I want to do, they are always willing to help me try and figure out how to do it. And so, like, I needed help with getting to work for a while because my car just didn't want to play nice with me. And my sister would come and pick me up and take me there, or so like my mom would pick me up after work and bring me home. Um, hmm. My sister's always there if I want to do like interview prep, um, or like to look over my resume. Same with different cousins and like godparents and stuff, whatever their skills happen to be in. If I reach out to them and say, "Hey, do you have like a few minutes to chat?" They're very helpful there. Um, yeah, and then like my friends and my family, they're very encouraging. So,
That's good. That's awesome. And I think it's when you have that support system, it's sort of it helps on the days when you don't feel like pushing forward. So I love that. Because I know I've know what it feels like to not have the support system. Sometimes you feel like you're just trudging along, by yourself. So
mhm.
that's really good. So I know you said that your mom didn't disclose it to you. She was your
Yeah.
primary homeschool teacher that you had autism. And so how
Mhm.
old were you when you found out? You said you were
Think
in
I
your 20s.
was. I was in my 20s. I think I had to be maybe like 24.
Wow, so that's just a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
So so do you tell people now, or do your coworkers know that you have autism, or how does that work? Because you didn't know for so long, so it's not, even though you were living with autism, you didn't have the same relation as someone who may have known, their entire life. So how does that work for you?
Yes. I do tell people. I mean, like if it comes up, I know I'm just usually going out to like, oh, by the way. But my some of my coworkers do know. I would say like the ones that I interact with the most. And that happened at this job uh because I was having issues with like sensory issues with the office space. And so as I was like trying to describe them, that's when the topic came up. Um, hmm. And funnily enough, so I mean my entire life I always assumed that I had ADHD, and then I was diagnosed and I do as an adult as well. That was in grad school. Um, but I had never considered autism. I didn't really know much about autism. So, but people that I dated many times, they would say to me before I knew, they'd be like, are you sure you're not autistic? And I didn't know anything about it. So I was like, no, I'm not. I don't think I'm autistic. And then once I learned about it and then went to my mom and was like, oh yeah, I want to get tested for this. Then she was like, oh, honey, you're already tested. You are. So I guess that even though I did not know it growing up, I guess other people could kind of see it.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I almost feel like not knowing removed any mental barriers I think that you could have placed there on yourself. And not saying that you would have used it as an excuse for anything, but I think not knowing may have just shaped your outcome just a little bit differently. So when you had those sensory issues at work,
Mhm.
um, I like that you sort of kind of went to them and advocated for yourself, to maybe try to get your space changed, or what happened with that?
Let's see. I think that what happened is I'd started out just wearing headphones. I was wearing headphones all the time. And then I was going into like empty offices and kind of working from those offices because I could close the door and kind of like block things out.
Hmm.
And then one day, my I didn't have like my own supervisor when I first started. And then she came on and we had our first one-to-one. And then at the end, she just asked me like, oh, let me know if there's like any problems with like just let me know if there's anything that you need help with. And then she said something about the office space in particular. And then I was just like, well, actually, I am like hearing this noise all the time. It's like really hard for me to get anything done. And it's like really, really bothersome for me. And
Was it like a buzzing?
yeah, it was this really high pitched, like buzzing, ringing noise that wasn't
Could have been
there
the
all the
lights.
time, and it wasn't the lights. We still don't know what it is. Like, I have no idea what it is, but mm,
Hmm.
people could only hear it if everyone was really, really quiet and then like they listened really hard and they're like, oh, yeah, I can hear that sometimes. So,
Yeah. It's almost like you're listening like at a different frequency almost, that you
mhm,
can hear different things. My son had that. He was like that where he would always shut the lights off because we had these halogen lights that were always kind of like you said, if it was really quiet, you can hear the buzzing, but it really he could really pick it up.
mhm,
So, but do you think that workplaces are doing enough to support adults who are, living with autism? Because I don't know if you know, but the unemployment rate is really high for
mhm.
adults with autism, like 85%. And
Yeah.
so I just think it's really, really awesome to see how, what you've done in your career and how you're making this new career in this new space. I'm wondering if is it something that other people should be doing, maybe that you're doing, that do you think there is like a method to it, um or is just you're lucky to be in this space, or what do you think?
I think that I got really lucky because it just so happened that the person that's my boss now also has ADHD and autism. And so
Really?
she was very understanding. Yes. Um,
Wow.
I don't think that workplaces tend to be very like autism friendly or like just neurodivergent friendly in general.
Mhm.
I think it's even just like not even introvert friendly. Like I think it's very catered to like a specific type of person, how ideally they want someone to be while at work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think that there's like a method to go about it. I think it kind of is luck of the draw of like who your HR is, who your supervisor is, like how much they're
Yeah.
willing to work with you, even if it's something small. Yeah.
No, I think having a person in leadership that knows what it's like to sort of go through those things makes a big difference, because um, they're in a place where they can really support change within an organization. And I think whether they're on the spectrum or not, it's really up to the leadership within these organizations to really, really make change. So, wow. Okay. So you mentioned a boyfriend. I want to circle back to that. And then you said you've always dated. And then not knowing again that you had autism, no barriers. But how do you see your life in the future? Do you want to get married, have kids, or um, what does the future look like for Nzinga? All things, if you can wave a magic wand, what does that look like for you?
Mhm. Yeah, I do. I definitely want to get married. I do not want to have kids. Apparently, I never have wanted to. Like as a child, I told my mom, like, oh, I don't want any kids. Let's see, what does the future look like? Um, I think that I don't know if I really want this. I keep saying like, oh, I just want to live on a little farm and have all of my animals and my garden and like my little work from home job and sit on the porch
I
and
can
have a
totally see that.
picnic.
It's almost like a little slice of heaven.
Yeah.
That's
The thing
awesome.
is, so yeah, we'll see if that ever happens. I've always lived in the city, so I don't know what country life would be like. Um, But yeah.
Well, I just started a greenhouse, and I can say I have one pepper that looks
Hmm.
amazing. That's the only one though. I'm still waiting for everything to sort of kind of come through, but I have found that gardening is really relaxing. So I think, you'll definitely enjoy it. And I wish I would have started a lot sooner in life, because I probably would not have been so stressed all the time, but I really, really love it. So last question for you. Well, two questions. Can I get
Okay.
two more questions? Okay.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think that people can do, or what's, something that people can do to support adults with autism?
I think that the biggest thing would be kind of like listening and accepting. So I feel like a lot of times people will say like there's too many people in here, or like it's too loud in here, like they say things, and because it doesn't resonate with that other person, they'd be like, oh, it's not that bad, or like, oh, just wait a few minutes and it'll be fine. And I think maybe if there was understanding that like someone is having a very, very different experience than you, like an experience that you might not ever have, then that would be a great first step.
Wow. So empathy and care.
Mhm.
Just, yeah. Imagine you're 16-year-old you.
Mhm.
So, and I'll divert for a second. So one thing that a lot of girls are, um, well, I've read that some girls are diagnosed later in life because autism shows up in young ladies very different. And so sometimes girls have issues, whether you're on a spectrum or not. There's, bullying, peer pressure, you may be insecure about some things, but that can seem heightened when you have autism. So if you can go back as a 16-year-old, like
Mhm.
what do you think you needed the most at that time? Or what piece of advice, I would say, would you give to your 16-year-old self?
I think I would say for a long time I really struggled with thinking like, oh no, someone wouldn't do that or they wouldn't do that on purpose. Because I was just like, oh, that's something that I would never do. Like, who would do that? But I think maybe if I could somehow get myself to understand just because it's not something that you would do doesn't mean that like someone else is not like going to intentionally be mean or intentionally try to hurt you. And um yeah, and that if someone is doing that and like consistently doing that, then like you should not just continuously give people more chances. It's like, oh, okay, this is not the friendship or relationship or whatever it is that I need.
That's amazing. And I think great advice. I would say not just for 16-year-old, but anyone, any age. And I think just, loving yourself, understanding that you're worth it, is priceless in life. So I enjoy talking to you today. I think this was amazing. Very thank you for being our first guest. I
Yes,
think
thank you so
you
much for
totally
having me.
rocked it. So woo. I appreciate you, and I hope that our discussion today will really help someone that is going through transition, or who may be in that post transition phase, meaning 22, 23, 24 years old, and they may feel stuck. I hope that this will help them. So I just love everything about you. I wish you the best. And your everything that you accomplish has been just amazing. So good luck to you. I hope you get that dream work from home job, your little slice of heaven, that little farm. And I totally think you should do it. So you can come down to Virginia, where I am. We have lots of farmland here, so it'd be
Ooh,
great.
I've never been, but now I need to
Oh,
come
you
back
gotta take a
again.
trip. You have to take a trip. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. It was great talking with you. It was nice to see you again too, Trinity.
Yes, thank you. It's good to see you.